Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's one's going to be a quick one going over the new hotfix that just dropped. So in case y'all don't know, we actually had some downtime today while they were doing maintenance and they released some patch notes. So you guys should definitely update your game. And in the meantime, let's go over these notes here really quick. So for this video, I'm just going to cover some of the bigger bullet points that I think matter and just skim over everything that I think is irrelevant or is not that big of a deal. So starting off with the Wellspring here at the top. I think these are all pretty important. They fixed an issue where players were not receiving Wellspring rewards if they haven't picked up any armor from Finch in the Throne World. They also finally added the bad luck protection that we've all been waiting for. So they added it for weapon drops and deep sight mods in the Wellspring. And they also fixed an issue with Wellspring completion rewards that will make it less likely for players to obtain a powerful or pinnacle drop in the same slot multiple times in a row, just protecting your bad luck RNG there, which is quite nice. Next up under Gambit, they also made some pretty good changes here. They fixed an issue where level advantages were enabled in PvP Gambit. Don't even ask me how that slips by on their end, but they finally fixed it. They also just readjusted some bounty values. And also this one right here, I knew they did it, guys. They reduced the amount of invader kill heals, the Primeval, from 27% to 20%. I knew for a fact after playing Gambit for literally 2 minutes after the invader killed one of my allies that they did this, so glad they went back. I don't know what the initial value was, but you know, a 7% nerf is better than nothing, so glad they did that. Next up under Altars of Reflection, they fixed an issue with Altars of Reflection not showing up properly for all characters. I think I had this bug on one of my characters like the second week, it just wasn't showing up on my map, so glad they addressed that. Next up under the Throne World, this is all pretty miscellaneous stuff. I don't think any of this is that big of a deal. It's pretty much just all nice little quality of life things in the Throne World, so you can go ahead and read that if you want. Next up under PsyOps Battlegrounds, I would say this first one is a pretty big deal here. So PsyOps Battleground EDZ intel and rewards chests will now stay spawned at their intended rate, no longer disintegrating at the 10-second mark, so you can basically get your loot. People are getting screwed out of their loot because of this issue, so glad they fixed it. Next up under Vox Obscura, these two are pretty big I think as well. They fixed an issue where reward progress wasn't tracking for the exotic sparrow in the Vox Obscura mission, and they also updated the triumph description for the old foes rise again to indicate that 4 weekly messages need to be acquired, 1 message per week following player confusion over how to complete. So I'm glad that they went ahead and addressed that because people were confused on that one, so they made it very simple and straightforward on how to do it. Next up under UI fixes, this is all pretty minor as well. I'm going to go ahead and say that this one right here though, I thought that this might have been my driver issue, so they went ahead and said, fix an issue where the player is unable to interact with sockets for 2 to 4 seconds while the screen fully loads. So I thought that might have been my PC or the driver, and I think a lot of people thought that as well, but low-key, I think some of these performance issues were definitely on Bungie's end, so this might make it nicer, just a smoother experience while you're navigating your inventory. So yeah, glad they fixed that. Under gameplay and investment here, these 2 glaive mods up here are pretty good. Armor mods for glaives now drop from the world engrams and can now be sold by A1. In case y'all don't know, A1 now sells 4 daily mods at a time, which is pretty good. And also they fixed an issue where glaive armor mods would not appear in collections, so they fixed that. Under armor, they fixed an issue where Eon Safe Titan exotic arms were not showing its familiar gold stripe, not really that big of a deal. Under weapons here, so this is where I got kind of concerned because I thought Gjallarhorn was going to get a nerf. So right here, they say, tracking rockets have been adjusted after being found too dominant against other guardians when invading in Gambit. So in case y'all don't know, back in the day, remember how Sleeper got that fat nerf? I was thinking that Gjallarhorn was going to get the same treatment because of Gambit, and that would have been really unfortunate. But then they say here that tracking against AI enemies remains unchanged. So I guess it's just against PvP enemies, so I guess other guardians. I'm not really sure, but we'll have to go ahead and test that out in game. Next up, they fixed an issue with the Ikelos Smg. So basically, these 3 right here are all the nerfed or banned weapons for the day 1. So the Ikelos Smg, the Wardcliff Coil, and also there was a bug with the Grand Overture They all had ammo or damage buffs basically, so they went ahead and nerfed them to their initial values before they got screwed up there. And that's pretty much it. Also for the new exotic LMG, which is the Grand Overture, in case you guys don't know, they basically buffed the ammo reserves from 40 to 60, which is kind of cool. So they fixed the glitch and then they gave it a slight buff via ammo economy, which is kind of nice. And then everything else there is pretty much not that big of a deal. I think down here under weapon crafting, all these are pretty big if you guys want to go ahead and read these. So they adjusted a lot of different traits on all of the weapons you can craft, which is pretty nice. And if you guys want to go ahead and read up on that, definitely do it. Under abilities down here, they fixed an issue where the standardized void weaken debuff was overriding Divinity's custom weakening debuff. So basically now in Void 3.0 for all classes, we can now basically put on a fragment. I believe it's a fragment, which basically acts as the old oppressive darkness. So you just throw it at the enemy and it debuffs them. And this was overriding Divinity, so glad they fixed that. It's actually kind of cool. If you guys don't know, definitely go through that mod on if you like to use grenades a lot with your Void 3.0. This Void Weaken ability, which is like a 20 discipline stat penalty though at the same time, which is kind of bad, but overall it's a pretty strong grenade fragment. I definitely recommend giving that a try. Next up, they fixed an issue where the Ward of Dawn was granting an unintentional melee damage boost that's stacked with offensive bulwark. That's actually kind of cracked, so basically Titans are getting a slight nerf via melee damage with that. Reduce melee recharge while invisible and wearing Graviton forfeit when in PvP activities, including Crucible and Gambit. Fix an issue where hitting Deadfall's trap with a throwable grenade or smoke bomb would cause it to disappear. Next up, they just go over one of the seasonal challenges, which literally isn't that big of a deal. It just gives you some XP and maybe Bright Dust, I think. It's really minor and it's super easy to complete even though they went back and changed it. Doesn't really matter. Went ahead and adjusted some HDR for the Xbox One X there. So lastly, down here under general, we'll cover some bullet points that I think are a big deal. So all the ones here at the top are basically for Stadia users and also some purchase issues as well. The first big one I think matters here is focusing now costs 10,000 glimmer and 50 legendary shards each. This is a little bit of a slap in the face. I don't know why it's that pricey, but I guess Bungie just wants it to be more expensive. For Master Raoul, they fixed an issue where the weekly limit for Ascendant ally purchases was not resetting at Master Raoul. So that was also an annoying bug because you need those to craft items and they're just kind of annoying to get. And basically you're supposed to be able to buy like 1 or 2 from him every week and then you hit your weekly limit, but his weekly limit just wasn't resetting, so they fixed that. They also say here, added a one-time purchase of 2 Ascendant allies for the cost of 1. And then right here, I actually kind of like how they changed it when Witch Queen initially dropped, but they went back on it. So Raoul's destination materials are now sold for stacks of 5 and 1 legendary shard matching Spider's previous exchange rates. So it was more expensive with the old way, but I think I liked it more because I just like buying things in bulk. I just think it's quicker and easier. So they went back the old way, so it's technically cheaper now, but you're just going to spend more time clicking A or spamming mouse click on them if you want to go ahead and buy some materials. And then now right down here for a little quality of life, they fixed an issue that allowed weapon telemetries to still drop. In case y'all don't know, they did away with those, so it's kind of funny that we were still getting those in our inventory. And then I think this one is also kind of important right here. Fix an issue where the exotic quest name for the Grand Overture Catalyst quest would show up blank after the first step was completed, so they fixed that bug as well. And then lastly, I just want to touch up with this last point they say down here. So like earlier in the video, we went over the UI fixes and stuff like that. And I think some of that was tied to, you know, obviously their end with things not loading properly and also a mix of maybe the new drivers. But everybody was really thinking that the drivers that released for PC, especially if you play on Nvidia, I don't know about the other one, but for Nvidia users, a lot of people thought it might have been the drivers that were the cause for all of these weird performance issues. But, you know, now they're reading this, I'm not so sure. I think a lot of those issues might have actually been on Bungie's end as well. I definitely don't want to blame them completely for it. Overall, it was an amazing launch. It went pretty good, you know, but some of these performance issues were definitely getting in the way from enjoying it to its max potential. And, you know, I'm not 100% sure on how much of that was on us and our drivers and was actually on them. But anyway, they say various crash and stability fixes implemented across all platforms. Who knows what that means, but hopefully we have a smoother experience here moving forward, and that's all we can really hope for. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys want to go ahead and read this article, I'll leave it linked below for anybody who wants to take a gander, especially if you want to come down here and read the weapon crafting section here. This is some pretty juicy stuff here if you guys want to go ahead and read that. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video informational or helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and also drop a comment below letting me know what you think. And also consider subscribing to the channel if you guys want to see more content like this in the future. And I'll catch y'all really soon. Until then, peace out. Have a good one.